Welcome, everybody. It is Picking Winners. I am Statsational here with my boy JBC for Run Pure Sports. And hopefully we'll be picking some winners for you guys on this Friday afternoon. JBC, what's going on, buddy?
Just watching the U.S. get fucking smashed in the Ryder Cup. My parents are in town, so, they're downstairs. My dad's bitching about the pairings like I am, so.
I have not looked. I was out all morning just getting back now. So what's the where are we at right now?
Well, we went down 3-0. The first three all got smashed, like 4 holes left type shit. And then Xander and Cantlay barely eked out the last one to go 1-3, and now they just started the PM wave.
What's Dad not liking about the pairings?
Same thing that I didn't like. One, fucking pairing Morikawa and Harris English. No idea what the fuck that's about. That doesn't make any sense on any level. Neither of them should even be playing. Then you pair Scheffler with Henley when Scheffler's boy Burns. Like I didn't agree with that, and they got waxed. And then JT playing with DeChambeau. I mean, I guess I get it, but JT sucks. And then they sent JT back out for the afternoon instead of Xander when Xander won. We'll see.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, obviously we've had a bad history here in the last couple of decades, 2-3.
We've lost 10 out of 14.
It's been brutal. Yeah. And you would think. I mean, not that I don't know if home field advantage in golf means much, but playing at Bethpage, it's going to be absolute insanity, especially on the weekend. If it's
yeah, when Rahm stepped into the tee, they were yelling, "Hit it in the water," just nonstop at him,
Well, he's easy to get under the.
Yeah, there's hit it in the water, you fuck, It
was a good comment. Did you hear during the practice yesterday when Rory was like, he was trying to button his top button? Did you hear that guy yell out?
No, I didn't say it.
The guy said, "You don't need a button to choke, Rory." And Rory actually the whole team, they were on the driving range, and they all actually got a chuckle out of it, which was surprising. Rory doesn't usually have a great sense of humor about those things, but that was a good one. But yeah, how'd we do last night?
I had Seattle and under, so won them both.
Man, the Arizona. Is Seattle first? I want to talk about Seattle first. Is this a better team than we think? I mean, the defense is pretty solid. Is this a playoff team?
Yes. I think that, especially now that even though San Francisco has won all their games and has that game in hand over the Seahawks as far as like a tiebreaker, they're pretty fucked with injuries and like long-term injuries. And, the Rams are obviously very, very good, but Seattle's defense looks for real. And, Mike McDonald, as I call him, Mike McDonald, he seems to have gotten them in rhythm. I mean, what is this, his third year now or second year? But they look a lot better. The Seattle defense looks pretty stout.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think this Arizona defense is not bad either, but that offense, it's hard with Seattle. They haven't played the toughest of schedules yet, so we'll see when it gets a little.
Well, I mean, Arizona's 2-1, Steelers are 2-1.
Right, you look at Arizona, and Arizona hasn't played anyone either, right? So it's really
but what I'm saying is you can't you can only play what's in front of you, and Seattle's combined strength of schedule going into last night's game was 7-2, and one of those losses came from them.
I mean, I get that, and I agree with you. Like, I don't like the knocking a team because they've played a weak schedule. You see that a lot, obviously, in college sports as well. But you do have to. What I'm saying is, I just want to see them against a little bit better offense because that Arizona. I mean, there's something wrong there in Arizona. I don't know if it's just all on Marvin Harrison. I know they want to put a lot of blame on him.
Because as soon as Marvin Harrison caught the ball, they put up points.
That's true. And he makes that catch for the touchdown, which saved his fantasy day. But the 2 interceptions were obviously, one was his fault, right in his hands, and he bobbles it for an interception. And the other one was thrown his way. I mean, there was a couple of plays there. I always think, especially a veteran quarterback against a young wide receiver, when there's a mistake and there's multiple mistakes, it's usually on.
I don't think much of the stuff yesterday was on Kyler Murray, and Vip makes a good point here. Arizona, their blocking game coordinator went to Dallas, and if you watch their O-line, oh my God, they looked so like there were 3 guys in the backfield before Kyler even took 2 or 3 steps back.
Totally true. And I agree with that sentiment. When you look, Kyler's not a traditional quarterback, and it looks like they're trying to force him to be more of that kind, and maybe it has a lot to do with the blocking schemes as well. But yeah, it's not working for that team. But
as soon as he started running, they started scoring.
And he's going to have to run. He's going to have to run for that team to be any good. He's not. The one thing from a fantasy perspective is he has not looked good at all this year, but he gives you a decent floor. So he's going to have a game here.
He was the captain last night in Showdown.
Right. And he's going to, showdowns are, it's one
I'm just
game.
saying he was the captain last night in Showdown.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Despite having an awful game.
But I'm saying I wouldn't be shocked. Like, he's going to have a game where he's going to be in the Millie winner on the main.
Mm-hmm.
But on the whole, it's like, do we want to try to figure out what game that's going to be? Because more games than not, he's going to give. It's just that his floor is so good because
he's going to get 15 like every game.
Exactly. So, and he's going to have the one game where everything clicks, where Harrison's going to make unbelievable plays. He's going to, he's going to be hitting McBride. He's going to throw for 250, 275. He's going to run one in. He's going to throw for 3 touchdowns. He's going to be the nuts on a slate. But do we really want to rely on him on a week in, week out basis? I don't know. So I don't want to dwell on that game. It was a bit of a boring game, I guess, until the
had it nailed. Seattle and it was a stone Seattle and under until the end, and then they both did anyway.
Yeah, I thought the under was really the way to go with the way the offenses were working. I think both defenses really played well. I thought the under was the sharper side on that one. But let's dive into the weekend here. What we got going on? We got a series. This one's in London, right? We got a London game this week, or is it Ireland? Ireland this week?
It's in Ireland.
It's in Ireland, yeah. And then they're going to go to London. Minnesota goes with the Jets. Minnesota stays out there, right? And
they asked DK Metcalf what he was doing in his free time in Ireland, and he was like, "Not shit. All I'm here to do is play football. Fuck this place."
Well, I've been to Dublin.
That's basically what he said.
I've been to Dublin, and I might as well have been in the middle of New York City because all I did was go to bars in Dublin the entire time.
He said, everything I need to see is on the ride from the airport and back.
It's a good point. It is beautiful. I did go to Northern Ireland and play golf at Royal County Down, and that was amazing. But it's true. The drive was even better than it was beautiful. I mean, just beautiful countryside. But so Minnesota's out there at Pittsburgh. Look, the Minnesota defense, talk about good defenses. This Minnesota defense is kind of shaping up to be one of the better defenses in the league. Pittsburgh, Aaron Rodgers, we both of us have not really been high on Aaron Rodgers for a few years now. And Aaron Rodgers was always your boy. I know that.
After he tore his Achilles, it was over.
I think it was over before that.
But I'm saying that made it worse.
He was done after that. So we've got now a Steeler team that has always always outperformed with the and now with Tomlin as the coach, my favorite guy. I think he's always kind of outperformed
Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, he's outperformed the numbers, I think, more often than not. And so I was really curious about this team this year when you do have Rodgers, at least on paper, was better than he's definitely better than Russell Wilson. We'll get into that whole situation later on. But curious here, you've got pretty good defense here with the Vikings. Pittsburgh, you can't really love what you've seen. Now, the Vikings obviously have their issues as well offensively. The total is low, 40.5 at DraftKings, 41 in some other spots. The Steelers are getting 2.5 points. What do you like here on the neutral field? Sometimes a little tricky to handicap these games overseas.
I think the Steelers are going to have a whole lot of trouble scoring. The Vikings will have trouble scoring too, but I think the Steelers, it's going to be very difficult. The Vikings just shut down a team that has Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. It's like, I know Browning sucks, but this Steelers offense has looked. They shouldn't have won that game last week against New England, and they probably shouldn't have won the game against the Jets. The offense just looks like they have no idea what the fuck they're doing. I'm no fan of Arthur Smith. I like Minnesota, the side, and I like the under just because I don't think the Steelers can score.
I'm in agreement with you here. I think this Pittsburgh offense, I think we said it after week one, like we got to kind of, was this the Jets or was it Pittsburgh, and vice versa? Was this Pittsburgh or was it the Jet offense? I think we're kind of getting the idea here in that game that both of these teams are not very good, and it was more of a product of who they played that day. I think they're going to struggle to score against this Minnesota defense. I think Minnesota, I'm in agreement. I think Minnesota's going to struggle to score as well. I actually prefer the over. If I had to pick a side here, though, I think Minnesota would be the side as well. I think if you can get it under the 3, they should be able to cover this game. But I feel more confident that we won't get all that many points on in this one. I like the under. I think is a stronger play than the side. So, all right, let's move on now to the more traditional, the main slate, the 1:00 games. You've got your hometown, the Falcons, will be hosting the Commanders, another team. I mean, this is a team. I mean,
They just
against
ruled
your
McLaurin
boys
out also.
that was a brutal. I mean, that's as brutal a performance. I mean, it's one thing to lose to Carolina. For Carolina to shut you out is a whole nother ball game, and they get blown out in that game. Now they're going to come in here as a favorite at home, 2.5 points at with just 105 on the juice at DraftKings. You can get it down to 2 in some spots. 43.5 on the total. This Falcon out, can they figure it out here? Is the Falcon offense, is this a good time? Can we buy low coming off just an abysmal performance? I still think this Atlanta defense is really strong. Who do you like in this game?
So last week, if you look at most of the peripheral statistics, the Falcons by all means should have won, and they lost 30-0, which is crazy, but very typical of the Falcons. And the same thing in week one, where, their win rates and things of that nature were far above the other team, and they managed to lose. That said, the Commanders are completely decimated by injuries. I mean, Daniels isn't going to play. McLaurin's not playing. Just like the last game, I have a hard time seeing how Washington is going to score on Atlanta, because Atlanta's defense is good. They're very good. So I like the Falcons is like one of my favorite bets this week, and I really like the under too.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in agreement with you here. So I like the Falcons. I like the under. I hate to be on the same side here on both all 4 of these sides here for the first couple of games, but I really believe in the Atlanta defense. My problem is I hate betting this side because it's similar with Minnesota. I just don't have confidence in the Atlanta offense. Obviously, they proved that last week, and like you said, I mean, they probably should have won when you look at the stats in this game. It's hard to say that when you get blown out and shut out, but there's still a lot of problems.
It was a very strange game to watch, because the whole game, every drive, it kind of seemed like the Falcons were in control, and then something would happen, or they miss a field goal, or it was weird.
Yeah, a lot of when I do the power rankings, it's supposed to kind of weed that out, because I look more at, you're looking at the stats and the yards, and I actually throw out turnovers. If you add turnovers in, it's sort of bound. When you add turnovers in, my rankings as the season goes on will be much more linear. It'll match up with win-loss, but I hate doing, because I think turnovers are highly luck. Quarterback turnovers not as much, but I think the fumbles can be highly lucky. You get those seasons where you just recover them all. There's a lot of luck factor in turnovers.
Well, think about yesterday. Massive point in the game. They get Darnold from behind, not looking. Ball's bouncing free, and it bounces right to a Seahawks.
It bounced right back to Seattle. What about the interception that, it didn't cost him, right? You intercept the ball. That was a fluky play where he gets hit by his own player. I thought they were touching his helmet, but that's a whole nother situation. And you get, just fluky plays like that are going to happen in a game. And they're turnovers in football, as we know. Winning the turnover battle is a huge factor in whether or not you're going to win the game. And when I factor it in, I forget how many they're worth. It's, oh God, I don't want to give you a bad number, but turnovers are worth like 2 points or something like that, each turnover, something like that in a game. I'm forgetting the number off the top of my head, but it's a significant number, because either you're driving to score and that takes points off the board, or you're backed up on your own side and you're giving the other team free points. So turnovers are just massive, as we know. But yeah, I like Atlanta here, and I like the under more so. Both of these first games, I do like the under more than I like the side. All right, here's an interesting one. We got a couple of teams. So you got now the Panthers, your boys, coming off what we just talked about, maybe the best game that they've played, or at least certainly from a score wise, the best game that they've had here in the last few years. Still don't know if this is necessarily all that good of a team against a New England team, which I think has kind of performed the way we expected them to. We've sold them in the beginning of the year. I thought the market was way too high, but I think they're a better team and certainly could be better than the record of 1-2 in the games that they've played. Is this a good opportunity? Did we get this line a little shorter price or a little tighter price than we necessarily would have if Atlanta, which they were certainly capable of doing, went out and beat them 30-0 last week, Carolina, and maybe New England wins, their game? Do we have a different line here, and can we take advantage of the fact that maybe New England should be laying more like a touchdown and not 5.5?
Yeah, I think New England clearly should have won the game last week. 2 turnovers on the 1 yard line is crazy. Like, that's fucking crazy. And so New England, they've looked a lot better than I expected, to be honest. Especially on defense. Carolina, as we talked about with them too, I think they're a little overrated because of the 30-0 score when they really didn't play that well. So I do like New England minus 5.5. I like the under 2, but I think that the spread on New England is nice, and I think that'll keep going up. And I don't know if it'll get all the way to 7 by Sunday, but it might.
Yeah, I heard some stat yesterday about like teams coming off 30-point victories cover against the spread like 37% of the time or whatever it is.
Because again, the numbers get so inflated. Yeah,
because it does. I don't know if that necessarily. Typically, teams of the quality of Carolina just don't win by 30 points. So it's just it's an unusual. You're coming off of a Baltimore or Philadelphia winning by 30 or something like that, where you could say, okay, maybe they're going to inflate. And plus those good teams, maybe they, playing an inferior team coming in the week after, maybe they let down a little bit. I've got, when I look at the numbers, New England right now, and I don't think they're the worst team in the league by far, but from a number standpoint, this offense is performing as one of the worst offenses in the league. The Cleveland's the only team worse right now in my rankings, and the defense isn't all that great. The defense is right around mid of pack defense. So I'm going to take Carolina in this one. I'm going to take the points. I think I'm not a huge Carolina fan here. I don't love Bryce Young. I'm going to take a shot here with the points. I think 5.5. The way I'm not as high on New England. I've been wanting to sell New England most of the season, sold them for the futures, and I'm just going to continue to ride that. I'm just nervous of the fact I wish Carolina did not win 30-0 last week because I feel like I could have got more points. I'm with you. I think this line may go up, but I'm of the other. I'm kind of waiting and hoping that I could get the 7. I don't think we get there. I don't think we get there at all. But if I could get anything better here than 5.5, I think this is one I'm going to hold out into right before the game time. And I will be on Carolina. What about the total in this one? You like that at all? You like this under? I think 43 as well. I'm gonna agree with you on that one. I do like the under, which kind of plays a little bit more, I think, into the Carolina pick. I think this game is an under type of matchup. So I do think taking the points here, I will take in a tight, low-scoring game. All right, to one of the worst teams in the league to one of the best teams in the league, maybe the best team right now against, and they're playing a pretty weak team. Buffalo is hosting the New Orleans Saints. This game is 15.5. I believe it dropped.
Sorry, to answer this question, we disagreed with each other on that.
Yeah, we disagree. We're on opposite sides. So I like Carolina, and Mark is on the Patriots. But Buffalo here, this game opened 16.5 right now, down to, I'm seeing 15.5 pretty much across the board. There's a 15 out there that I'm seeing. 48 on the total, 47.5 over on DraftKings. This could be, I look at Survivor pretty closely. This might be the highest spread we get for the entire season. We may not get one higher. And they're always tough. I hate laying this many points in the NFL. But typically, obviously, when you're laying this many points, it's going to be a really strong team against a really weak one. So what do you like here? Is this even bettable? Do you like this spot at all?
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about teams coming off of 30-point wins. Well, you could flip that around. The teams that are coming off of getting their fucking head beat in. I mean, the Saints looked about as bad as you could look in the first half last week in terms of catastrophic mistakes. 15.5 is too high of a number. The Saints offense looked fairly competent the first 2 weeks. I see them getting back to that. I don't like the 15.5 as much as I like the over. I think this game shoots over. I think you're looking at like a 30-20 type situation. So I like the Saints and the over.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on this one. So I do like the Saints as well. I think this is it's a tough one. I don't like to necessarily bet against a couple of the Josh Allens. I don't think you're going to make a lot of money traditionally betting against those guys. So I kind of hold off on that bet. It's been, look, in recent years, I've had this thing where I don't bet on the prime quarterbacks. And if you look, Brady against the spread, Peyton Manning against the spread, Drew Brees against the spread, Mahomes up until last year against the spread. There's certain top quarterbacks that just outperform the spread, and when you catch them, certainly as a dog, they've been great. Josh Allen's been one of those guys as well.
They can scale really high with the scoring. Yeah,
that's what happens. So they tend to outperform the number. I actually had, whenever you get a celebrity to reply to one of your tweets, I had one. Dan Orlovsky was actually, I think, 10-1 or something like that against the spread in his career. You got to look it up, and I looked it up. So it's always my judge of like how good a quarterback. I'm not saying Dan Orlovsky was a great quarterback, but if you can outperform the number, you're better than what the market. And again, his was a small sample size. Tom Brady over his career, we know how good he was, but I just find it interesting. If you could do better than if you perform better than expectation, that's always my gauge of when they talk about clutch or not in postseason. I'm like, well, if you outperform the number over a decent sample size, I'd have to say, okay, we can make the case for you being a clutch quarterback. No one really plays enough games. Very few quarterbacks are going to play enough games in the postseason to have that case. And it's on my mind only because I just got off the phone with a whole conversation about Derek Jeter, and that's and how his postseason numbers are no different than what his regular season number was. So he was so clutch. He just has iconic plays. Anyway, I'll digress on that for the moment. Yeah, I will die on that hill. He's a Hall of Famer. He's not one of the greatest. He's not in the caliber. He's not even the caliber of A-Rod, so who was on his own team. And of course, Mariano was the reason that they won as many championships as they did. But that should tweak some Yankee fans, of course, because
how about my take that the most important athlete in New York sports history is Eli Manning?
Yeah, well,
that's my favorite.
Well, you love to troll, and I was going to get on.
I believe that though.
Well, your logic. I understand your logic because you're taking like the biggest market in the country with the most high profile position, and probably that is the position
and the most popular sport.
Yeah, the most popular sport. It's the one position. Is it the most important position in sport? I mean, the goalie in hockey, because the goalie in hockey could play every game, right? So,
pretty much. I don't know, because like everybody in basketball is kind of that important. Like,
yeah, but all right. So in basketball, the best player is going to
like win. LeBron is more important than the quarterback.
Yes. Okay, but the best players are going to. It's very hard to win an NBA championship without having one of the top 5 players in the league. I mean, you got
in football you can. So that's why the NBA guys are more important.
You could do it in football, and you could do it in. Certainly do it in baseball.
Yeah.
Right. And you could probably do it in hockey as well. But the hot goal, you can't beat the hot goal. Like, I don't care what the team is in hockey. It's the reason in hockey a 7 seed, a 6 seed could go deep.
Because if the goalie is just on fire, yeah.
Goalie's on fire. You're just not I don't care if you don't score, or if you can't score.
You can't win without scoring. Yeah.
Can't win without scoring. It's the same thing in baseball. The difference in baseball is it's a different pitcher every night.
Right.
So I've got to get
and then as an example, what baseball would look like if it was hockey is softball.
Correct. I could pitch the same
girl
women's
every softball game. Pitcher that just can't get hit, her team's not going to lose.
Right. You could throw a million pitches in softball. I could pitch every day. I could throw double headers if I want to. It's a totally different mechanic. You're just not going to hurt your arm like you will in baseball. So you saw it. There was that girl this year in
She
the
had
World
a
Series.
torn hamstring and pitched like every game.
What team was that? The girl pitched like every game.
Texas Tech. She was the first
yeah.
NIL chick to get $1 million.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you have someone of that caliber, but yeah, you're right. That's the closest thing you're going to get to just a lights out goalie in in hockey. I think soccer different because you don't get as many shots on goal. Like the goaltender's important.
Soccer individuals don't really matter that much. There's like the most important players tend to be like if somebody's like a holding midfielder, like a defensive midfielder, and the team doesn't have somebody that can fill that very particular role, teams can really go in the shitter. Like Manchester City 2 years ago, Rodri won the Ballon d'Or, best player in the world. He tears his ACL the first game last year. Man City was not the same team. They go from the best team in the world to like 10th, just based on one guy getting injured. But that's a rare occurrence in soccer.
It seems like you know a lot more about soccer than I do, but the goaltender in soccer not nearly as important as
doesn't
hockey.
matter hardly at all.
Yeah, it's just not as because they don't make as many huge saves.
It's more about not making mistakes.
Don't make a mistake, right?
Because there are certain balls like the goalies can't stop it. Like
right. Virtually every when the goalie in hockey is just
the goalie in hockey can theoretically stop
everything. Right.
But in soccer, if they put it right in the corner, nobody can stop it.
It's physically impossible. Yeah, no, it's interesting. But your point, and you because I'm not an Eli Manning guy. I did the quickly on Eli. So I did a 10-year sample of every Hall of Fame quarterback, and I did their quarterback rating. I'm like, all right, let me do this board at work one day. So I basically I comped every Hall of Famer to whatever decade they got drafted, basically, and then the average quarterback rating of all the quarterbacks of that era who were drafted in that era to them. And you would think every Hall of Fame quarterback would have a quarterback rating higher than whatever the average was of the quarterbacks that got drafted. The worst, I think there was one, and these will make sense. Terry Bradshaw was under.
I was going to say Namath.
Well, Namath, Namath was close. Yeah, Namath obviously didn't have the career. You know, he got in for different reasons. I mean, he was great, but injured. One of the lower, the next lowest, he was above the average, was Troy Aikman. But he was above the average. Again, it makes sense. These are two guys who won 4 Super Bowls, right? So, or 3 Super Bowls. The Aikman won 3, right? And so you've got guys who won multiple Super Bowls. Obviously, that helped them get in on great teams. But Eli, of course, fits the bill. He's below the average quarterback rating of his peers. And again, it's the same situation. Was able to win 2. He's never. Troy Aikman's not a Hall of Famer if he doesn't win those Super Bowls.
Favre would have been near the top. Favre was great.
Favre was up there. I'd have to go back. I did this years ago. I'm sure I have it somewhere on my computer.
Yeah,
I'll find it for you guys, and I'll just replicate it. But yeah, no, Favre would have been. Favre was up there. It was those guys really stood out. Aikman stood out, and I'm an Aikman guy.
And nowadays, it's like quarterback play is so much worse than it typically is. That stat down the line, Mahomes is going to be way above everybody else.
Exactly.
And it's like this. There's only 2 guys that are even remotely close to him. And he beats them every year.
Now with the you just didn't have the quarterbacks who could run that running ability. It was you had the Steve Young.
Right. You have to be able to factor the running now.
That's going to be a different metric now. A guy like Lamar, who's a great passer.
Well, they tried to do, ESPN's tried to do QBR, but QBR is pretty not inaccurate.
It's a stat that I used to rely heavily on that I think, it's still pretty good. When you look at quarterback, when I'm looking at Super Bowl contenders, it's one of the better stats is I'm forgetting now who this wasn't. I didn't come up with this, and I read it. Now I track it. But if you look at the differential between quarterback rating, your team's quarterback rating minus what you give up to quarterback rating, that differential is a huge factor in teams that win in the postseason. So it's definitely something to look at. You have to pass the ball well, but teams that don't necessarily stop the other team. And we'll get to a team that looks pretty good offensively in a bit, that has not necessarily looked all that good defensively. But let's finish up this Buffalo and the Saints game. So you like the Saints here. I like the Saints as well, plus the points, but I agree with you on the over. I think the over is even a better side here. Typically, I like sides more.
The Saints have looked really competent. Like for the most part.
You're right. You're in a tough. They played the first 2 games at home. You go to that was a tough game. In retrospect, everything in retrospect looks easy. You look at survivor pools. I'm like, I should have just went. Just put everything. We should have just taken all Seattle's last week. It looked like a tough spot. You could always second guess yourself, but that's a tough spot for New Orleans. You play the first 2 games at home. You're pumped up, home crowd.
Go to the loudest stadium in the league.
Loudest, and now you got to go into Seattle. Tough place to play. Traveling across the country about as far as they could travel for a game, and so that was a tough spot. Now they're back-to-back road games here against Buffalo, who perhaps I hate going to overlook an opponent, but if they were ever going to do it, this would be the week. But I think the Saints will be more game here. I think if the Saints could get you to what do they have to score? If they could get 20 points here, we're gonna win both sides. They get 20 points, we win both sides. We hit this one. I think they'll stay. It stays within the 15.5, and we'll get this one to the over. So yeah, I do like I do like the Saints in the over as well.
So the best bet would be the Saints team total over.
The Saints, yeah, I think you might be right with that. And this does go against what we traditionally like. If you're taking 15.5 points, you really want those games to go under,
right?
Because you've got a much.
But this is the same as last week. We had the Saints in the over.
Yeah.
And while they sucked, it still went over.
It did go over. Yeah. So I agree with you. I'm gonna be on the same side on this one. All right, let's flip to the next one. This is I guess a little surprising with the Texans hosting the Titans. The Texans, surprising in that the Texans are 0-3. I think a lot of people had higher expectations here for Houston. This is a popular survivor pick, of course, because we may not have too many.
I'm feeling real good about the fact that I liked Indy and the Jaguars and thought Houston would suck.
Oh, I was with you wholeheartedly on that. At least on the certainly on the Houston side, I thought Houston was a bit overrated. I wasn't as high on Houston last year either, but I was looking at futures selling Houston as well this year. Look, we know this Tennessee team, especially offensively, not very good. I thought they were better defensively, and the numbers really haven't shown that to be the case either. When I was looking at, I do the DFS rankings where they look at it on a position by position basis, how teams are performing. Tennessee has actually been under average against all the against opposing quarterbacks, opposing running backs, opposing wide receivers. So where I thought it looked like they were playing much better defensively than I thought, and then I look at my power rankings, they're kind of middle of the pack there as well. So I don't know if I'm all not necessarily scared of this Tennessee defense. And you look at the offense has obviously been one of the worst offenses in the league. Is this a spot here? Houston obviously needs a win to get themselves back on track. Do we like the favorite here, or are you a believer that Houston's just not as good as a lot of people think, and touchdowns too much?
I think both things are true. Cam Ward sucks. He's not good. And, he's looking an awful lot like Bryce Young did the first year. I've got no interest in taking Tennessee. I think the Texans cover the 7, and I think it goes under 39.5. I think we're looking at 31-3, 27-3 type shit. I don't think the Titans score a touchdown.
I like the call on the under. I'm going to take Tennessee plus the points, though. I think, look, this Houston defense is really, really good. So I do think Tennessee's going to have a hard time putting points up on the board. I've got them right now. They are ranked. They're right there basically with Cleveland. Green Bay still has the number 1 defense on my sheet, and they're pretty much neck and neck with Cleveland, Houston, that is, on defense. So I do prefer this game to go under because of that. I mean, it's an under 38.5 with a touchdown. I'm going to go the more traditional route. I like this game to go under, so I'm going to go with the points here, even though I think the Titans are abysmal. I just don't trust this Houston offense really either. I don't think they're going to be able to put a lot of points on the board. I think the safer bet is the under. I agree with you. You like them to cover, so you're looking at basically Tennessee not even scoring in this game. They're going to keep them to single digits. I think they might do the same, except I don't know if Houston scores enough to cover.
That's true. They could cover like 7-13.
I could see this being a 14-10 type of a game. So I like this one. I think the under is stronger, but because of that, I'm going to take the Titans and the points. I hate to give up that many points on that low of a total on a game that I don't think is going to have a lot of scoring. All right, let's jump to New York. We got the Giants, new quarterback. talk of the town. Everyone wanted this one. Jackson Dart is going to be hosting the Chargers, who look pretty good. It's always tough. I mean, we got a quarterback here starting for the first time. Tough to handicap. How much better, how much worse will they be with Dart over Wilson? Tough to think they'll be worse outside of that Dallas game. And I think Dallas has proven to us now that they are maybe going to be the worst defense in the league. Definitely a smart move to get rid of Micah Parsons on their part. 43.5 is your total at DraftKings. 6 points you're getting with the Giants, 6.5 in some other spots. What do you like here? Chargers at the Giants with the new quarterback.
The Chargers, with how strong their defenses looked, I'm a little averse to taking a quarterback in his first start against that kind of defense, especially with how bad the Giants have looked in general on offense. I like the Chargers -6, but I like the under 43.5. I think that the Giants are going to try to lean heavily on Scatterboo to try and negate the advantage the Chargers have with the pass rush, and give Dart a little bit more of a chance to not get fucking killed back there. So I think the pacing of the game will be pretty slow, and so I do like the under more than the side.
I'm going to be in agreement with you on this one. I like the under as well. I think this Charger defense is very good. Now you got to look at it. How would you play this game if you're the Chargers? You're the better team. You're Harbaugh against a rookie quarterback here. You know what Harbaugh likes to do. You've got a quarterback who's obviously a pretty good quarterback.
I would sling it.
So you would sling it. I think what most of these coaches tend to do is play more conservative. I do agree. I agree with you. Like, to me, let him try to be. If I could get up in this game and then
they're not going to be able to catch you if you get up.
Exactly, and then I could pin my ears back and really go after the young quarterback. We'll see. It should be fun to watch him play. He's a guy who has a tendency in college to take some hits that maybe he shouldn't take. Not advisable in the NFL.
I remember I was at the Ole Miss Georgia game last year, and Dart got whacked right at the beginning, and he didn't play for like the first half.
I'm afraid of that with this offensive line, that he's going to be running for his life a lot in this game, and I don't want to see him take unnecessary shots. I think he's got young guys. Obviously,
I'm thinking Scatterboo gets like 25 carries.
Scatterboo is the hot. He's now he needs to play in New York or Philly, or like he's the guy that they love. In that little guy, I loved him. I mean, if you watched any of him in college,
he's a dog, man.
Yeah, for a guy his size. I mean, even for a guy bigger, I mean, like Pacheco runs like that, right? But Pacheco's a pretty like strong guy. Like Scatterboo's not scaring you when you look at him. You're like, man, I don't want to.
I kind of like this 2,200 on Scatterboo. Like if they start leaning on him, I mean, the problem is if Scatterboo plays well and they start winning games, then it's going to be Dart.
If they win, yeah, that's the problem. Is one, they're not going to win games, but the advantage you have,
Scatterboo could win. If they do win games, it's going to be Dart for sure.
Exactly. That's right. You tend to the rookie of the year though doesn't necessarily have to be on a winning team. But the other thing is a running back from a losing team. That's a tough one.
Well, he gets a lot of dumps.
He absolutely does, and from a PR marketing standpoint, which a lot of these awards really are at the end of the year, no one's going to be getting as much coverage as Scatterboo. The way
how are you going to beat Egbuka?
That's right
or
now. Or
Tyler Warren.
Yeah, absolutely. Plus, is he going to be able to play like that the entire season without knocking himself out for a few games?
Arizona State. I mean, that last game, like he was like getting. Man. He's tough, but NFL bigger guys.
That's my problem with Dart. Like, you got to learn to slide in the NFL because these guys run a whole lot faster, hit a whole lot harder than they do in college. I don't want to get hit by any of those college guys, but I sure as hell don't want to get hit by anyone in the NFL. So I think you learn quick in the NFL that you get down as quickly as you can. So I think we are in agreement on that one. I think we both like the favorite here. And on the side, you like the over, right? I like the over on this one.
No, under. I like under.
Oh, I think no, I'm sorry. I like the under. I have the under as well because of the defense. I think it's going to be tricky. I think they're just going to have a hard time scoring the Giants with the rookie quarterback. I do respect this Charger.
I think they'll play it pretty safe, the Giants. That's what I was saying. I thought Scadaboo would get a ton of carries.
Well, you'd have to think they're going to play it safe from a game. They will. Which I agree with you. When I'm the other team, I'd want to play aggressive against that safe. I just think they'll play it safe themselves because I hate that mentality. I like if I've got the better team, if I got a team that I don't respect scoring against me, I hate playing conservative in those situations. Like, play aggressive.
That's how you get beat, is because then, like, something can happen
in the game.
All of a sudden, your punter drops the ball and you're losing.
Exactly. I want to just go out there. If I've got they've got, the thing with the Chargers now is, and now they ran the ball better last week, but they've got weapons here on, throwing the ball. Quarterback's good. You've got good pass catchers. I think they're confident in their ability to throw the ball. That's how I would come out in this game. And then if you want to, you want to take the air out of the ball, go ahead. But I do think it's going to be, I don't know if the Giants necessarily want to get Dart killed. So I do think they're going to try to play it as close to the vest as they possibly can, and perhaps try to keep the scoring low, at least initially, when they have to. All right, let's move on to the next one. We've got a pretty good one. Philly at Tampa Bay. The Bucs are going to be a home dog in this one, 3.5-point dogs, 44.5, depending on the book. Over on DraftKings, you get this one at 44.5. Good game, good matchup. This is kind of an old rivalry. We had some classic playoff matchups between these two teams in years past. Philly, you don't know what to make of this Philly team. They last
looked
week
horrible, and then Jalen Hurts started calling the plays, and shit changed.
Yeah, they looked a whole lot better throwing the ball last week than they have coming into that game. That is for sure. But this Tampa defense, another pretty strong, it's a strong unit on Tampa, and they could put points up on the board. We know how good the Philly defense is as well. So what side do we like on this one?
Tampa, I think, has the issues with the injuries. Evans being out. They're missing a lot of guys on the line. I want to sell Philly, but I think Tampa is too beat up. Philly's strength plays right into Tampa's strength. Like, Tampa can stop the run. Like, Hurts is going to have to throw to win, but they showed last week, that second half when Hurts was basically like, "Coach, go fuck yourself. I'm going to start throwing it every play." Shit changed for Philly. So I like Philly this week, but I think the game may stay pretty low scoring, with Tampa having some struggles with the injuries on offense. So I like the under with Philly.
Yeah, I'm going to take Philly, but I like this one to go over. And for a lot of the reasons that you actually said, I do think Philly is going to throw the ball a lot more in this game as well. I think they're going to look at some of the success that they had here last week throwing the ball. I think we'll see a much better throwing offense than we maybe were accustomed to in the first couple of weeks of the season. I looked at the early boom. I did it last night. And just from a DFS standpoint, the receivers here, was it the quarterbacks in this game are high. Like Jalen, I was surprised. Like Hurts, I think, is my number one on the boom report.
Well, he missed that last week,
and he was. So I was just surprised to see he was the number one guy on that boom. We'll see. He's not going to drop. If he drops, it won't be all that far. So he's going to be one of the better plays, at least on that report this week. And the wide receivers, I think AJ Brown and you pronounce his name, I'll never get it right, but Anugba from Tampa are two of the higher, the two of the higher rated wide receivers also on that report. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, I just said a week ago, like, I don't want to play Philly and I don't want to play against Philly. I'm like, I don't know if I'm necessarily going to jump on that as my favorite option here for DFS, but on all the metrics that I have right now, even on the stack report, I think Hurts, Brown.
Yeah, here we go, John. There you go. Say it for me.
Egbuka. There you go. See, now I'll remember that in my head, and now I'll say it right. But we'll see. We'll see how long I remember that next week. Remind me again next week when I pronounce it. When he gets 3 touchdowns and I need to refer to it.
Emeka Okafor, and then Egbuka.
Emeka Egbuka.
There you
go. Yeah, there's a lot easier names that I get wrong too, so that's fine. But so I do think I do like this game to go over. I do think there's going to be a lot more passing in this game. I think both teams, I don't know if struggle would be the right word, but I think they're going to. It'll be a little tougher road running the ball. I think both teams are going to have to rely on the pass. I think we'll see a better Philly offense than we did maybe the first couple of weeks. And I agree with you. I will take this game to the over. All right, we've got Detroit coming off a massive win Monday night. Was that Monday? Yeah, that was the Monday night game against Baltimore.
And hit Detroit and the over.
You had Detroit in the over.
And I hit Detroit in the over live. I hit Detroit 3 times and the over twice, I think.
That game, I mean, that looked like it was that the over in that game looked like the play for sure. Baltimore, we'll get to Baltimore in a bit, but look, this Lions team, they put up a ton of points, obviously, against Baltimore. Baltimore has played pretty tough schedule, and they've given up a lot of points to some pretty good offenses. So we'll see just how bad that team is. But Cleveland's defense, we saw it last week. It's an elite team. It might be the best defense in the league. It's an elite unit. The problem is they can't score. So, at some point, against this Detroit offense is better than the Green Bay offense. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But Detroit doesn't play as strong a defense as Green Bay does. Now, this is a 10-point spread. That's a lot of points, I think, to give up to a team that could play defense the way the Browns can play D. 44.5 on the total at most books. You might catch a 44 out there. Do you want to lay 10 to perhaps the number 1 or 2 defense in all of football right now?
Yeah.
You're doing it.
I'm doing it. I like Detroit. The Browns, as you stated, I really, really don't think they can score, despite how amazing the defense is. They've looked just completely inept on offense. That touchdown they got last week was a gift. The Lions should be able, the Browns' defensive line win rate is their big strength, right? Every single guy on the defensive line crushes, and Garrett most of all, right? So the Lions, they do a lot of awkward run schemes that kind of negate that. I feel like they'll be able to game plan around the Browns' strength a lot better than the Browns will be able to game plan around Aiden Hutchinson just murdering Joe Flacco. So I like Detroit. I like the under. I think I don't think Detroit's going to score a ton, but I think we were looking 24-3, something like that.
Did you say you like the under?
Under.
It's another wacky one. You're going to lay 10 points and take an under. And I hate doing that myself, but I kind of like it. I kind of like it as well. I just can't see Cleveland scoring it. Detroit's defense is better than, it's not the best defense in the league. I don't think they get as much credit maybe as they deserve, because this offense is obviously one of the better offenses in football. So I think just against an average defense, and I think they are above average, Cleveland's going to have a hard time scoring. So I don't think Cleveland really has the ability to even get this thing to double digits. I think no matter how good the Cleveland defense is, I think the Lions will be able to put points up on the board against them. I think if they get to 24, we cover this game, and I think 24 is the number that we could get to on Detroit. What's the team total on here? So if we got 44, do the math. You can do the math quick. So 44 is 22 17. And 5 is 27, right? 27. That's tough. Do I want to take that? I don't know if I want to take that.
I think Cleveland under 17 is
nice. That I like. I like the team total. I like that more than I like maybe Detroit's under 27. I don't know if I like that or the over. I don't like either side of that. I think that 17 is a good number. 17 and a half to get that. I like that Cleveland total to the under. That might be the better bet in this entire game. But I like the under a bit and the favorite. So yeah, it's crazy. I hate taking these.
There have been a lot more of these recently than there were in past years where I've thought, I'm taking a big favorite and under. It's a lot of these teams, their defenses are just so strong, or the other team, or in this case, the offense is so weak.
I haven't looked. In the old days, the parlays were the parlays, so you could just parlay a game. They do take, they don't give you the straight payout. Are we getting a better payout at all on if we parlay?
I think so. I think so. I tend to avoid, SGPs as a general statement.
Right.
So
I'm just curious. I got to look at it because I don't look at them all that closely myself. That would be interesting because everything used to be plus 260 on the parlay, no matter what. Back when I back in the
Right,
day.
but then
when you had your local
people
bookie,
realize the correlations,
there's a
and
correlation there. And now with that reverse correlation, I wonder if we're getting actually a better price than
sometimes
even playing those straight. Something to look at. You guys can look at it. I'll look at it when we get off the show myself. But, the fact that you like so many of these that are negatively correlated could actually be better to take the SGP. So we'll look at that later. All right. We've got the Rams, a team that I thought would be one of the better teams in the league this year. They're certainly performing like that. Easily could have won their game against Philly. Against maybe the surprise so far, early season surprise of the season of this 2025 season, Daniel Jones and the Colts. Are they the best offense in football right now? I don't know. Probably not, but they're certainly performing like it. 3.5 point spread. Man, this would have been a lot bigger point spread if they played this one on opening day. 3.5 points, 49.5 is the total. Which way are we going with the Rams Colts?
I think that the way that the Colts look on offense right now, it's hard to go against them, especially as a dog of more than a field goal. Nobody could stop them. Danny's just figured it out. Something has clicked, and I'm going to ride the wave until until it falls off the tracks. Colts and over.
I'm with you on this one as well. I like the Rams. I like this Ram offense.
I think the game's going over. I think it's going over.
I think the over is the play. I think it's a little tighter for me here, whether I like the Colts or not. But I think this one, it becomes a shootout. I believe in what the Colts are doing. I think, look, this was a pretty good.
It's Irsay's daughter. It's Irsay's daughter.
She's helping. Look, she's got the headset on. She's taking notes. I don't know what she's doing, but it's not hurting. That's for sure. But I think this was a good team with a quarterback who just was not playing well. And this was a borderline playoff team with a bad quarterback. Now you've got a quarterback playing at a really high level, doing a lot of good things. He can run. He can throw it. They've got weapons. You've got Taylor playing as good as any running back is playing in the league right now.
Warren looks amazing.
Yeah, this is a real strong. And then on the other side of the ball, Stafford's being Stafford, and that offense, Puka is probably, from a DFS and fantasy standpoint, there's not many better wide receivers than Puka because he gets a ton of the targets, and he's pretty damn good when they throw it to him good after the catch as well. So I really I like both of these offenses quite a bit. I don't think either one of these defenses are something that I'm necessarily worried about. I think they can both give up some points. They're kind of middle of the pack to below middle of the pack in the case of the Rams on defense. I'll take the over as well. Stronger play to the over, but I'll take the Colts plus the 3.5. I don't mind the hook, but I think that 49.5 a little bit. That's a little light. This should be like a 51.5 total in my mind. So I think we're getting a little value here on the over. All right, we've got Jacksonville heading across the country. They will be in San Francisco. Well, they'll be in Santa Clara actually to face the 49ers. The Niners banged up as they have been most of the season. -3 is the line. The 49ers are favored. We're looking at 46.5 with the heavy juice to the over on DraftKings, 47 at a lot of other books. Right on some key numbers here. 347. What do you like here? 49ers and Jacksonville.
49ers are beat up, man. They've had all these horrible catastrophic injuries. Even Mac Jones got fucking hurt. I just, I know they've been winning, but I just don't have a lot of faith in them to stop Jacksonville like at all. Trevor Lawrence looks like a new guy with Cohen back there calling plays. So give me the Jaguars, give me the over. I think the Jaguars win outright.
All right, I'm gonna be on the other side here. I don't know. I'm just not a believer in Trevor Lawrence. We'll see. Maybe you're right. Maybe the play calling changes. Maybe that helps him out. I just have not seen enough from him over the last few seasons. I mean, he just has not been that good of a quarterback to where I think they go into San Francisco even banged up. That San Francisco team, obviously well coached. I think they'll be able to run the ball well on Jacksonville. I think that's where they win this game. They'll run it, and I just don't think I have any confidence that Trevor Lawrence is going to be able to win a game at the 49ers. I think despite all the injuries and everything else, obviously the 49ers 3-0, they've performed, they're still, I think they're I think they're still underrated. I think a lot of people have just written off San Francisco as like they're just going to fall by the wayside. The Rams look really strong. I don't think we're ready to just throw dirt on a team that's 3-0 that everyone wants to kind of throw dirt on. I think they're being a little disrespected. I'm going to take the 49ers here. I'll lay the points. Total, I'm not as confident on. I'll lean towards the under, though, on this one. So I like the 49ers with a slight lean to the under. All right, let's head over to the marquee matchup. Boy, Baltimore's played an unbelievable start to the season with the schedule. You've got Baltimore at Kansas City. This is the 425 marquee game. 48.5 is the total. 2.5. I mean, how many times you're going to get Mahomes as a dog at home? Doesn't happen all that often. We had it with Philly, right? They were a dog at home to Philly twice this year. Remarkable. They did not win that game. Philly was able to cover. Does Baltimore do the same thing? Can they go into Kansas City? Baltimore, they need a win desperately.
Chiefs need a win too.
Chiefs need a win. These are both teams. I'll tell you this, with Baltimore, if they do lose this game, I think they become a really good play. I think they're a good play right now to take them to win a Super Bowl and to win the AFC. I'd like that line even more if they lose this game this week, which we should get an even better price on them. But you got to worry about this Baltimore defense. If Kansas City's offense, which has looked atrocious, Kansas City's got there's just no weapons. It's Mahomes. Mahomes is their leading rusher. You've got a Kelsey who you're realizing now how important Kelsey was to this team because he is not the Kelsey of a few years ago. So you lose a guy who wasn't making, he wasn't necessarily making his bones on his speed, but you've got a guy who's lost a few steps. You don't have a marquee wide receiver. You don't have a number one. You don't have a number two, and you've got no running game. So it's all Mahomes right now. But this Baltimore team has not been able to stop anyone. They did play some really good offenses, so we'll give them, Buffalo, Detroit, put a lot of points up on the board on them. But if not for a couple of fumbles, maybe this is a totally different season right now for Baltimore. And Derrick Henry, of all people, has been the one to put the ball on the ground for him. So I'm still a believer here in this Baltimore team. What do you like here? Are you going to lay the points on the road with Baltimore?
Yeah. I think that Kansas City's offense and Baltimore's defense are both really fucking bad. So they kind of, in just, talking through it mentally, like they kind of cancel each other out to me. And Baltimore's offense is the best unit on the field. Baltimore's offense, I think, is significantly better than Kansas City's defense, as good as Kansas City's defense is. So I do think the Ravens will have no problem scoring. I think they're going to put up a ton of points. So I like the Ravens and the over due to the Ravens defense also sucking.
Yeah, I like I like that as well. I like Baltimore and I like the over. Again, it's one of those guys, you don't make a ton of money betting against Patrick Mahomes, although last year you did. But when it's Lamar Jackson against Mahomes, that's a different story. So I like Baltimore here. I think they're going to be able to put points up on a stout defense, but I think the pace of this game is going to be, it's going to be an up-tempo type of pace. I think the Chiefs,
we know Kansas City can't run, so
they can't run the ball. So you're going to see, you're going to get a lot of Patrick Mahomes, a lot of throwing of the ball. Probably see a lot more Patrick Mahomes running with the ball as well, which is not exactly what they want to do. But this is a strong pass defense for Kansas City. Baltimore has obviously been bad on both sides, run defense and pass defense. But to me, I think this is the toughest offense in football to stop, just because of Lamar. I think he's the best running quarterback that there is out there. And
I'll say this: he now has the greatest quarterback rating career in the history of the NFL, passing.
No, I was going to say, and his passing is as good as anybody.
So he's the greatest running quarterback in the history of the NFL and the greatest passing quarterback in the history of the NFL at the same time, statistically, right now.
It's because it's just so difficult. It all works together, and then you throw in. I know Henry's been just not good, but you throw Derrick Henry in there. It gives them a whole another element. I like this Baltimore team to win this game. And I'm glad you didn't say, I know you would never say it, but I hate the, is Baltimore going to really go 1-3?
Well, Yeah.
You got to go 1-2 to go 1-3, and they're 1-2. So they've got the same odds to win this game as whatever the market says it is.
Is Kansas City really going 1-3?
And is Kansas City now going to go on?
Yeah.
I hate those. Like the same thing with Houston. Yeah, Houston can't go 0-4. Yeah, they sure as hell can. They're 0-3. But yeah, I just, man, I know Snyder's is in the chat, and I know he's a big Baltimore guy. Man, maybe I put the hex on him. I called it like in the second quarter of game one. I'm like, this Baltimore team's not losing to anyone, and now they're trying to get a win here just to get back on track. So I'm still a big believer though in Baltimore. I like Lamar.
Fortunately for them, the division, Burrow going down, and Cleveland, being so like the Steelers are in first. Like come on.
They got to play. Yeah, I mean, when you look at the rest of this, I was just talking about this, like I said, where I like the futures on Baltimore still. They've still got 7 games, right, in their division that they played the Browns. They've still got 2 with the Bengals. They've still got 2 with the Steelers, or 5 games, I guess, right?
I'm not worried about Baltimore making the playoffs.
No, they're making the playoffs. They're making the playoffs. There's no way, because they're going to win the division. Who's going to beat them in that division? They can't.
Nobody. Unless the Steelers do Steelers shit.
Exactly. So I think they win that. I think it's a good bet to take them. I didn't look at it. I was actually out on the phone, so I wasn't staring at what the line is. But I think that is a good bet. And certainly, if they lose this game, I'd still jump on that bet in the future market. You'll just get an even better price. But Baltimore, they're 1-2, and in my rankings, they're the 7th ranked team, and it's just because that defensive ranking is so poor against this Kansas City offense. Who knows? Maybe they'll be able to improve their ranking a bit. But of course, the ranking does take into account who you're playing. But I like Baltimore in that marquee matchup as well this week. All right, let's move on to, you've got the Bears at the Raiders. Boy, we're looking at a 1-point spread, 1.5 at DraftKings. And if you lay the 1.5 over at DraftKings, you can get that at even money. 47.5 is the total, minus 120 to the over at DraftKings. 48, even 48.5 in some spots. We know that I don't expect a lot of defense in this one. We had last week, of course, this was the big Caleb Williams against Dallas, a game that a lot of people liked. You got to figure the Raiders, you got guys like Gentry has not looked good. Bowers hasn't looked good really for Bowers so far this year. Against this Bears defense, this is the week that you can get right as an offense. Who do you like here? Do the Raiders at home handle the Bears? Not laying much, really just have to win this game. And where do you like? Which way are we going here on the total?
The Raiders on offense have they look completely disjointed. Whatever Chip Kelly's doing, it's not fucking working. I know Bowers is injured, but come the fuck on. I don't know, because on paper they should have a decent offense, but I'm going with the Bears here. They've shown an ability to score. It's just the team hasn't really played much defense. So I like the Bears and the over.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Bears over on this one myself. Doesn't feel, I don't know, feels kind of icky. Bears on the road, but that line, like, just one is a little surprising with this Bears team. If you just, I don't know, maybe to me,
I think the Bears might be favored by kick.
Yeah, I think that it may move that way. I don't think you're wrong. I just think when I looked at that, if you were looking at the look ahead, if I was putting a number on that, I would have just figured that the line would have been a little higher, which actually makes me like the Bears even more in this one. I thought, 2.5, something like that. But when I look at my own numbers, I mean, it's very tight. This is basically a pick'em game on my own numbers. I just thought the market would be a little bit higher. I thought we could get a little bit more of an advantage with the Bears. I like the Bears as well. I don't like either one of these defenses. I think the Bears have a terrible defense. So I think Vegas will be able to put some points. Boy, if they don't put points up on the board here this week, if you don't get Gentry going this week, then I don't know what to tell you if you drafted him on your.
It's hard to keep Gentry on the field because he's so bad at pass blocking. So when he's out there, they know he's running.
That's a problem with young running backs for sure.
It's the same reason yesterday people were like, "Oh, why is Kenneth Walker coming out so much?" It's like because he can't fucking block.
Yeah, that's a huge deal for for running backs in this league. If you can't pass protect, it's going to really limit your ability to be on the field all that much. And like you said, it's sort of a tell that when you're in there.
Henderson in New England, same problem.
Yeah.
It's the same reason that in Dallas for years and years and years, everybody's like, why is Ezekiel Elliott still out there? Why don't they play Tony Pollard? Like, what's Tony Pollard doing right fucking now? Nothing, because he can't fucking pass block. Like, they put Zeke out there because you don't know if it's a pass or a run when Zeke is out there. When Tony was out there, you knew the ball was going to him.
You're 100% right. You telegraph it. You know, if your tendency is going to be 80% run when that certain or 80% pass when a certain back is in there, or vice versa, it certainly certainly tips the defense to be able to know what that tendency is and then be even better against it. So like you're saying, when Jetty's in there, you're stacking the box, 8 in the box, and the offensive line hasn't really performed all that well either. Who's the best? No, all right, it's Chase Brown. We'll get to them in a bit with his insanely poor numbers. But yeah, no, Genty has not looked good. We'll see. A lot of people I think are going to be on him here this week in fantasy, expecting maybe a breakout. We'll see if that happens. But I'm with you on this one. I think the Bears on the road get the job done against Vegas. I do think it'll be high scoring as well, so I'll lean towards the over. All right, well, this will be a popular one. Everyone's going to be watching this one. If you what's the over under on how many times Micah Parsons' name gets called in this game? Cowboys hosting the Packers, 7-point dog at home. The Cowboys in this one over on DraftKings, 47.5 is the total. There's some 6.5s out there, 46.5s as well. This Dallas defense is bad. You know, we've got a lot of matchups here where we've got just two really weak units going against each other. This Green Bay offense hasn't looked all that spectacular, but they're going up against
matchups.
It's about, that's the problem. So it's about matchups, and now you've got the best matchup you can have for an offense going against Dallas. This defense, on the other hand, for Green Bay has been insanely good. Dallas offense has been fine. I mean, Dallas has been able to score. You know, they get the injury with Lamb last week, but so I think that kind of, when you lose your best option there at wide receiver, that obviously killed a lot of people in DFS, changes your game plan a little bit. They went to Ferguson a lot, so we'll see how Dallas rebounds here without Lamb. This is a tough spot for the Cowboys against this defense. What do you think here on the road? Are you willing to lay 7 points on the road with the Packers?
Yeah. I think the Packers will be able to score just fine with Jacobs. As far as Dallas, without Lamb out there, man, they're going to be coming after Dak really hard. I just, like, Dak has been playing well, but without Lamb, I just don't see how they're going to put enough points up to stay in this game. So I'm thinking, again, a big favorite with the under. Packers and under.
Yeah, I don't have as much of a feel on the total. I would lean to the under just because the reason I'm going to take Green Bay in this one as well, just because I don't think Dallas against this defense is going to be able to do much. Without Lamb, I think they're in trouble. So I think this against this defense which I think is the best defense in football. I'm just not confident. I'm going to take Green Bay. I just don't know if I don't know if I love their offense either, but against this defense, who's going to stop them? We're going to find out this week. I think just how bad this Dallas team is, especially defensively. Like, if Green Bay just comes in there and rolls them on offense, it's pretty bad. So I like Green Bay. I'll lean Green Bay. I'm not that confident in this game on the whole. I'm going to lean to the under just because I don't think that Dallas is going to be able to put up all that many points in this game. My leans will be that way. I'm not really confident to bet either side of this game. Yeah, someone in the comments, yeah, a lot of Jacobs. I could see that too, where they just kind of pound the ball. You could run the ball. I mean, you could basically do whatever you want on this Dallas team. And the one thing about this Dallas defense that's been just unbelievably bad is the big plays. I mean, you look at, and it's just a lot of it's mental mistakes that they're making. But more than any other team in the league, I've seen more guys running wide open deep down the field against this team. So I think Green Bay is going to take their shots down the field. I think that's how you play it. I think you do pound the ball. You pound them, and then the play action against Dallas has worked really well so far this year. So I think Jacobs will be a factor, no doubt. But look for some big plays, I think, from Green Bay as well. The question from a DFS standpoint is where's the ball go to? And we'll figure that out over the weekend, which way you want to go. But yeah, targeting against Dallas defense, I think, is going to be a very profitable thing this season. Don't love the sides. I'm going to lean Green Bay and the under as well. All right. We're looking at the Monday night game. We've got a couple of
Monday night.
Yeah, we got a couple of them. The abysmal Jets head down to Miami. Typically a lot of New York fans at that one when they're down there in South Florida. You've got a 2.5-point line. The Dolphins are the home favorite, 45.5 at DraftKings. A lot of the other books a little bit lower, 44.5 at some, 45 on others. So one of the higher totals over on DraftKings at 45.5. Laying the 2.5 seems pretty much across the board with the juice on that favorite of Miami. Couple of, I think, bad teams. What do we like here? Is Tyreek Hill playing? Is he trying to keep McCarthy's job? Is he fighting hard for McCarthy? Or not McCarthy?
I like Miami here. Miami's offense looked pretty decent against Buffalo. They were moving the ball up and down the field pretty much at will for the majority of that game. Tua obviously made some catastrophic mistakes, but the Jets are not nearly as good as the Bills also, and Miami's at home. So I will take the Dolphins minus the 2.5 along with the over because I think they'll be able to put up a good amount of points here.
Oh God. Yeah. I mean, I'm forced to pick these games, but I'm gonna take the Jets. I'm gonna take the Jets plus the 2.5. I don't love it. I do think I like this game maybe a little bit more to the over. I think we will get some points. I don't love.
This is also true. The Jets have had, or the Dolphins have had 11 days off.
That does
Thursday all the way to Monday.
Yeah, that's a good point. I got to look at that. There are some angles there that I do have that I'm going to look at. I'll have to look at a little bit closer, but it's not a play. I'm not betting this game either side. My lean is going to be the Jets. I do like the over a little bit more though. I don't like either one of these defenses. I do agree with you. I think Miami may be clicking a little bit more here on offense. Should be able to put points up against a pretty weak Jet defensive team. I'm expecting the Jets to be able to put some points up on the board as well. Their offense has not looked good. Both of these offenses are really just, I mean, Miami, we expected a whole lot more from. We didn't know about the Jets.
Well, Miami put up a good amount of points against New England. They put up a decent number against Buffalo, too. I don't think they're nearly as bad as people think.
Well, they hung in that game. I think you get a lot. You have to give them credit for hanging in that game there against Buffalo. I mean, they could have won that game against Buffalo, quite frankly. It was closer than the 10-point differential for sure. So
let's ask Antonio Brown.
What was that?
I said, let's ask Antonio Brown.
Yeah. I don't know if 11 days is enough for that. Yeah, no doubt about it. But yeah, not my favorite game. I don't know how entertaining a game that's going to be. We'll see. But we do get another one on Monday night, as you mentioned.
And double dip.
Yeah, we got, and they're going to be overlapping, right? So an hour differential on these games. So you could pick which one is the game that you're going to want to watch, whatever one is the better matchup. We've got the Broncos at home, 7.5-point favorites. The total 44.5 at DraftKings. You're paying a little less juice to get that over of 44.5 because a lot of other books are at 44, some even 43.5. Broncos, we know the problems that Cincinnati's got. Talk about bad defenses. Cincinnati, maybe, right there with Dallas as one of the worst defenses in the league. And when you put that with an offense that has their backup quarterback, now I think this offense will be a lot better than we necessarily saw last week. I don't know if we're going to see that happen this week because I think his Denver defense is pretty good. What do you like here? Another big spread, 7.5, more than a touchdown on this last game, the Monday night game, Denver and Cincinnati.
I mean, we spoke at length earlier about teams coming off getting their shit pushed in. this line was under 7 before that Vikings game happened. I think we're getting a decent value on Cincinnati. So I'm going to lean toward the Bengals and the under.
Yeah, this is actually one of my favorite games, and that's the Bengals plus the 7.5. I like that a lot. I don't think. Look, you saw what the Denver team did against Tennessee in that opening game. Not a team that I really trust to just blow people out. I think they'll play this game close. I don't love the Cincinnati defense, so I think there'll be points put up on the board. I think Cincinnati is going to be able to score here in this one as well. I lean to the over, but one of my favorite bets all week is going to be Cincinnati plus the 7.5. I think, but I differ with you in that I do think we're going to get a little bit of scoring here from both of these offenses. I think we'll see Cincinnati kind of rebound a bit. All right, that is it. We have any parting word? Anything else? Oh, we got to do a pick six here.
Yeah, pick six.
We got to do a pick six. Yeah, let's do a pick six.
You want me to pull it up, or you got it?
I've got. Well, you pull it up on the screen if you can.
Yeah, I got it.
And do we want to do like player props, or are we doing just games?
Player props are good.
All right, give me
or
one
fantasy
second.
Points or whatever.
Let me bring up my
screen.
Yeah, no, all that fantasy points. Let's try to hit.
There we go.
As a whole, RPS, like there's been a lot of these pick sixes getting hit. I haven't had one in a while, so hopefully we can.
You got anything off the top of your head that you want to?
No, I'm bringing it up right now. So you go, if you see one that you like, bring it up. If you give me 1 second, I'm going to just click NFL here so we can look.
I think that, yeah, we're going under on Quentin Johnston receiving. It's been a consistent refrain from me so far. I think his role in the offense has been grossly overstated, and that he's had a couple spike plays. Yes, Adam's right. I have too much money in my account right now. I usually have zero. Let's see who else. Well, or you got anything for me?
I'll give you one. All right. So, and I hate jumping off a guy who had a monster, jumping on a guy who had a monster week last week, kind of unexpected. I'm taking the Trey Tucker's yardage is 41.5 against this weak defense, Chicago defense. I like Trey Tucker. I like the over 41.5 on for the pick six.
All right, yeah. Trey Tucker over 41.5. There was one other one I just saw a second ago. Oh, well, that's the same team. Jacoby Myers over 63.5. I think we both agree that game is going to be pretty high scoring. The Raiders might be playing from behind. So I like both of those receivers to go over.
All right, let's take maybe a little unusual one. I like James Cook over his receiving yardage. It's a low number, 12.5.
Okay, James Cook over 12.5 receiving yards.
Receiving yards.
All right. Let's do one of these 5 reception ones. Actually, no, those are all 0.7.
I got a good one. While you're looking, in a game that I think is going to be a lot of points, that Colt game, which means we're going to get a lot of throwing. Let's take Stafford's pass attempts over the 33.5.
Matthew Stafford over 33.5 passing attempts. All right. And let's get one more in there. Let's see here. I did like one more of these receiving yards. I got to figure out which one it was. Now that we went to something else. It must have been higher. Oh, Nico Collins under 71.5 receiving yards. I think that game's pretty low scoring.
I like that.
So, okay, we got Quentin Johnston under 53.5 receiving yards. Trey Tucker over 41.5 receiving yards. Jacoby Myers over 63.5 receiving yards. James Cook III over 12.5 receiving yards. Matthew Stafford over 33.5 passing attempts. And Nico Collins under 71.5 receiving yards. 100 will win you a minimum of 2,500 on Pick 6 on DraftKings. Submit. I will post that on Twitter.
Yeah, Mike.
Do we have any more questions?
I think that's it for everybody. All right, so gone through all the games. We got a Pick 6. Got a lot of action this week. This is big, man. We got the Ryder Cup. Baseball playoffs are basically, these are all playoff games, not all, but a bunch of playoff games this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. October is right around the corner. We are heating up with sports. Before you know it, we're going to have NBA. We're going to have NHL. This is the best time of year to be a sports
Thank you,
fan.
Devin Scott.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And for JBC, I am Statsational from Pure Sports. We're out of here. We'll see you next week.